Dave, let's start though with Houston boy Don Toliver dropping a new album this past week. Uh, you know, dude, I can't even remember. Did we review his first one? I don't think we did, right?
We did not.
Yeah,
Heaven or Hell? Heaven and Hell?
Heaven or Hell.
Heaven or Hell 2020. Yeah, right. I think that came out right as the pandemic started. We did not talk about that, but I mean, people have probably heard him here and there, even if they're not don't recognize the name, because he was on Astro World, of course, signed the Travis Scott's Cactus Jack, and quite recently, of course, had a big part on Donda, Kanye West's Moon song in particular. He has a major contribution. So Don Toliver's been around, and we mentioned him for XXL. I thought he would get it in 2020, given the success of Heaven or Hell, the Travis Scott affiliation, but he actually did not get picked, which was a bit of a surprise to me. But he's continued to rise, and now we're at this second album or proper debut. I forget how they're saying it. Life of a Don, the second album.
Yeah, and you mentioned all those ways we've heard him. So his voice was familiar when I started listening, but I think as I worked my way through the album, I felt like I felt almost like I was not sure what track I was on a lot of the time. Because especially in the first half, I felt like a lot of the songs, especially the vibe of the songs, felt very similar to me. Almost kind of this like slow, jammy ish, like I don't know, toned down rap music, rap, hip hop, R&B, even a little bit. It felt like a nice blend. It felt like a nice listen, but nothing really popped. There were some songs in the second half that were a little bit more um, like traditional rap songs and stood out a little bit more. But pretty much, I think up until like the Kaliukas song, I was really like, which is Drugs and Hella Melodies. I was really like, man, these tracks are sounding very similar to me. Did you have that same experience listening through?
Totally, totally, yeah. And it's actually funny that the Kali Oogie song stood out to you because they are actually dating. So bit of a chemistry professionally and personally, clearly. Yeah, I honestly I just never got the hype. I've never been a big fan, and especially with Heaven or Hell, he clearly was just biting everything Travis Scott does. Travis Scott's his mentor, his fellow Houstonite, but he never did anything to stand out apart from Travis to me on that. I mean, there were some successful songs off that, which on TikTok, like After Party and Cardigan, but I was not impressed. And then on this, you can still see the Travis lineage. I think it's more of an aesthetic thing now. Like Don Toliver's a vibes guy, you know?
Yeah.
And it's not that he has a bad voice per se, but I feel like a lot of times he just lets himself get drowned out on the production. And lyrically, he doesn't add enough to stand out more often than not. Like he had a really big hit last year on the Internet Money album, Lemonade. It's a huge song with Gunna. And you listen to it and it's just like, it's very like sanitized, like carbon copy, this type of vibe stuff, which is quite in vogue. So I don't think he's that special. Like leading up to this, people were like, Don Toliver has rap album of the year potential. And I was like, how the fuck could you possibly think that? Like, where's the evidence? You know? Like, yeah, he's a decent singer. That's all we got though. Like I don't really know what the keepers are supposed to be on this album because it's just, as you said, kind of just drowns on. And I don't think there's a lot here.
It's a lot of like slightly auto-tuned like oohs and ahs throughout it, you know, and like you said, I think he definitely is a vibes guy, and it definitely feels more R&B-ish than I was expecting, I think. But certain songs did stand out to me. I think especially a song like Swangin' on Westheimer, which is production-wise probably my favorite track here. You know, there's a lot of like mild distortions around the beat loops and around the drum loops on this, and I really just felt like I listened to a lot of this driving, and usually that's where I can find myself vibing to things like this. I felt like it was just a really like standout production wise song. I don't know about lyrically on it, but just sounded the best to me in that first listen through. On the second half, I'm trying to think. Like, I guess Outer Space with Baby Keem stood out. Maybe that's because Keem stood out to me a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like a vibe switch up a bit, and he really rides that track really well, I thought. So, but other than that, I don't know if nothing really stood out to me too much.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think what was nice about Baby Keem's guest spot was that he like comes back into the song like a second time too.
Yeah.
It was quite a good feature. Um, I guess if I was to point to anyone, like what does Don Tolliver do well as this, singing vibe stuff we keep talking about? I guess 2 a.m. is like the best evidence of that, but still, I find him quite boring. So it is what it is.
Yeah. I think I get the appeal, but just not really my thing.